This weekend, extraordinary speech from the president on Friday on disarmament steps that the United States will take unilaterally. Mike Schneider will be talking about that all day long. And today we begin something that'll be rather interesting, a month-long series that we're going to be doing in our second half hour.
That's right. It's something that we're going to start that we've really never done before, starting today and continuing every day through the month of October. We will bring you a series of reports on women's health, and what we have to offer is new information on the state-of-the-art treatment and research and options that will make women better medical consumers. And our series will run every day in the 7:30 half hour.
And as we mentioned a few moments ago, we'll be talking about the first National Education Report that has been issued. This is also National Children's Day, or that's coming up. We'll be talking about that. But first we go to the news, and leading the news at this hour, the status of those contested Iraqi nuclear documents. Mike Schneider has that story, other news of the day. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Morning, everyone. Those UN inspectors have finally left their parking lot home in Baghdad, and they have the documents in hand. We're told now it's on to the relative safety of Bahrain. And it turns out that they had more than a few tricks of their own with them. Newsweek magazine says that while the leader of the team was giving interviews to American broadcasters, the rest of the team was on the bus, secretly beaming the contents of the documents to Washington by satellite. They found them during a surprise raid on a Baghdad building. Newsweek magazine says they were rather hard to miss. They were in boxes marked to be removed before UN inspection. Word this morning of a possible coup attempt in Haiti. U.S. Embassy officials have now confirmed that gunmen launched a pre-dawn attack on the home of Haiti's president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. No word yet on the outcome of the attack, but government radio there claims there are dead and wounded in the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince. The Philippine President Corazon Aquino is now apparently giving up efforts to try to keep the U.S. Navy at the Subic Bay Naval Base. Mrs. Aquino now says she will concentrate instead on trying to arrange an orderly withdrawal of those U.S. forces. Thousands of Filipinos who support the bases yesterday turned out for a rally near Subic, but overall there appears to be rather little public enthusiasm for trying to save the U.S. military presence in that country. In this country, some of the habits of a lifetime are now changing overnight because of the president's nuclear arms reduction plan. Strategic Air Command bombers that have been fueled up and ready to fly at a moment's notice for the past 3 decades plus have now been moved to the sides of the runways. That's just one part of the president's nuclear plan, now a plan that the White House hopes will be copied by the Soviet Union. ABC's Bob Zelnick is in Moscow this morning, and earlier we asked him about Soviet reaction to the president's plan.
Mike, I've been told that President Gorbachev's response came very early before he had a chance to check this with all the people he has to check it with in this country. He did meet over the weekend with his senior military advisors. I'm told their reaction was highly positive, and I expect in the next couple of days to hear very positive statements from Foreign Minister Boris Pankin and from the Soviet Minister of Defense Shaposhnikov.
What about the possibility here of eliminating all of the tactical nuclear weapons in the world, all of the short-range nukes?
Mike, the Soviets really endorsed this, and I think that's going to be one part of the plan they embrace, if for no other reason than it would take out of the hands of potential nationalist group the nuclear weapons the Soviets are most concerned about losing.
What about a prompt phase-out of long-range nuclear weapons over a 7-year period?
Well, those are the ones that are covered in the START Treaty, and politically, the Soviets warmly endorsed this Bush proposal. Technically, they're not sure that they can dismantle all those weapons so quickly. They're going to try to get technical help from the United States. If successful, it would leave only a small handful of strategic weapons in republics like Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan, besides the Russian Republic.
One of the ways that's been advocated now to eliminate many of the warheads themselves is to eliminate the MIRVs, the multiple warhead vehicles. Is that considered to be a likely possibility here?
Very much so. The Soviets, in principle, want to see those weapons eliminated. They're disappointed that President Bush limited his proposal only to land-based ICBMs, where the Soviets have the bulk of their force. They're going to try to expand those negotiations to cover submarine-launched ballistic missiles, where the U.S. keeps most of its strategic weapons.
ABC's Bob Zelnick in Moscow. Other news this morning, it's been 2 years since the president's rather pessimistic report on the nation's school systems. Well, things are not looking up. The National Education Goals Committee is handing out a nationwide report card today, and it's not going to be a parent pleaser. It's just one of the lowlights. Not even 1 in 5 students is considered to be competent in math. More on the study in just a few moments here on Good Morning America. Also making news this morning, the governor of Alaska, Walter Hickel, is set to announce a new settlement with the Exxon Corporation over the nation's largest ever oil spill. The first deal was rejected by both federal judge and by Alaska lawmakers, who said it simply let Exxon off too easy. That one would have cost Exxon $1 billion. Time for sports right now. Baseball, of course, the big story there. One pennant race is over, two others continue. And then there's the NFL, one less unbeaten team. With all that, John Snyder. John?
Mike, with a dramatic ninth-inning victory over San Francisco, the Dodgers last night maintained their one-game lead over Atlanta in the National League West. The Dodgers scored 2 in the ninth inning to win the game at Dodgers Stadium. The winning hit off the bat of Darryl Strawberry. He drives in Brett Butler with the game winner. Both the Dodgers and the Braves have 6 games remaining now in the regular season. In the American League West, the Twins yesterday clinched the division title, doing so when Chicago lost to Seattle. Toronto beat Minnesota yesterday, and the two are likely to meet in the league title series. Toronto now with a 4.5-game lead on Boston. In the NFL, a battle of unbeaten teams in Buffalo. Chicago led early, but Buffalo broke it open to win 35-20. Buffalo scored on 3 straight possessions starting late in the first half. This a 33-yard pass from Jim Kelly to Al Edwards. Kelly completed 19 for 305 yards. Buffalo is 5-0. Chicago is 4-1. The Raiders beat the 49ers. The Rams over Green Bay. The defending champion Giants are 2-3, losing at Dallas with just over 2 minutes left. Dallas quarterback Troy Aikman hit Michael Irvin, who fights his way into the end zone. That was the winning touchdown for the Cowboys. Seattle and the New York Jets were easy winners. Detroit is 4-1, beating Tampa Bay. Barry Sanders may be the NFL's best running back. Yesterday, he scored 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 160 yards. This score is 69 yards. The Lions have their best start now in 11 years. The New Orleans Saints are off to their best start ever, 5-0, beating Atlanta by 3 touchdowns. Saints quarterback Bobby Hebert completed 18 of 29 passes, 2 touchdowns to Floyd Turner. This one is good for 47 yards. The Saints held Atlanta to only 160 total yards in the game. Kansas City and Phoenix were winners. Denver is 4-1 after beating Minnesota. Tonight here on ABC, the Monday night game has the 4-0 Washington Redskins against the 3-1 Philadelphia Eagles, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Mike?
All right, John, thank you very much. And I have one prediction, is that Charlie's going to feel real tired tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Got to stay up for that one. RFK will be rocking tonight with the Eagles in town.
I think so.
I love that fellow who took his bows after that touchdown. I hope the Redskins are bowing tonight.
We're going to start doing that around here.
Yeah, when we get something to bow for.
Right.
Thanks, Mike. It's 8 minutes after the hour. Spencer Christian is down at Disney World in Florida with a national weather forecast, and he's got some rain down there, but maybe things are better around the rest of the country. Spencer?
Yeah, you're right, Charlie. There's nothing to bow about here in terms of weather. Here in Lake Buena Vista, which is right next door, of course, to Orlando, and this, of course, the home of Walt Disney World, celebrating its 20th anniversary. And in addition to the usual spectacular attractions at Disney World, this is a media extravaganza, as the media are here from all over the world, literally. And I will tell you more about the celebration a little bit later. Right now, let's go to the maps and see what's going on. It's been a very, very wet last 24 hours here in the Sunshine State of Florida, as you can see by way of satellite. A tropical flow of moisture across the Gulf and into Florida and the southeastern corner of the U.S. has triggered heavy rainfall. Many parts of this state have seen 3 to 5 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. We had a little downpour here.
Summit in Charlottesville, Virginia, 2 years ago. They made a pledge to the American people to improve the quality of education. To that end, they created 6 national education goals to be achieved, they said, by the year 2000. In a few hours, the first assessment of how the nation measures up to those goals will be issued. And joining us now from Washington is Governor Roy Romer of Colorado, who chaired the goals panel that prepared the education report card. Governor, I thank you for being with us.
Charlie, it's good to be here.
In the foreword, I'll get to the goals in a moment, but in the foreword of your report, you say it is required that we make education the most important business in the nation, in our states, and in our individual lives. Do you have any sense that that kind of national purpose exists?
No, it is not. And we need to make it that way because we've got to be more productive as a people if we're going to compete in a very competitive world. And education is the key to that. I think education is the most important business.
Well, and I think most people would say that the education of their kids is the most important thing to them personally. But where's the sense of national urgency, and how do you get that sense? I mean, it didn't come or didn't seem to come from that conference 2 years ago. How do you get it developed?
Well, we got to get down to an individual student and individual parent. They really got to know the truth about where they are. Let me use an analogy. If you go to a hospital and take a CAT scan, what you want are 3 things. 1, you want to know what health is. 2, you want to know where you are. And 3, you want to know what we're going to do about it. And I think every 8th grader in America really wants to know the same thing. What is educational health? Tell me honestly where I am but most of all, what are we going to do about it?
All right, let me go back to the 6 goals as they were stated 2 years ago, and then get your assessment as to where we stand relative to those goals. Number 1, by the year 2000, all children in America will start school ready to learn. I gather we don't know where we stand in this one.
No, and let me just to help you on that. Those 6 goals are every child will be ready to learn by the time they go to school.
I'll go over them 1 through 6.
Go ahead.
So I just did number 1, and let me get where we stand relative to that.
Well, we have 6 indicators. We don't have a real measure of how you measure a youngster's preparedness for the first grade. We don't have that assessment available. But we can go back and say, how are you doing on prenatal care, low birth weight babies, the nutrition of the child's parenting, access to preschool, and quality to preschool. And we have all 6 of those indicators in the report.
And?
Well, you know, we're not doing as well as we need to do. Frankly, poverty shows. And we have indicated in this report that we got a lot of distance to go, and it's going to take a lot of action on each of the individual states and the federal government to close that gap.
How close are we to full funding on Head Start?
Well, we're quite a ways away from full funding on Head Start. You know, we've made some progress in the last 2-3 years, but we're not even halfway there yet.
Goal number 2, there should be a gradual, or by the year 2000, the high school graduation rate will increase to at least 90%. How do we stand on that?
We're making some progress in that area. We're in the 80s, but we hope to get to the 90s by the year 2000. But what's most important is not just that you graduate, but what do you know when you do graduate?
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of people say the rate of graduation is up, but a high school diploma is cheapened because we don't really demand that certain standards be set in order to get such a diploma.
That's right.
Number 3, by the year 2000, students will leave grades 4, 8, and 12 having demonstrated competency in English, math, science, history, and geography.
Now, this is where the revolutionary change is in this report. We usually compare ourselves by comparing to each other an average. Right now, we're moving toward a standards-based education, where we're going to say this is what you ought to know and be able to do. And this report begins that kind of measurement. We have it in math, and as you indicated, it's a sobering report. But over the period of the 10-year history, the 10 years in front of us, we hope to be able to say this is a judgment call, but we believe every student should be able to know and do these things. And that is a new thing in this report, and I think it's helpful.
Well, you say we have the measurement in math, but when we do measure in math, we come out very badly relative to other nations in the world, right?
Yeah, if you compare us to 5 of the other industrial nations on math proficiency, we're at the bottom. Our high school youngsters simply are not reaching a high enough standard. We don't expect enough of ourselves, and frankly, we're not prepared to teach math as it ought to be taught in this country.
That covers number 4, which is by the year 2000, U.S. students will be the first in the world in science and mathematics achievement. That is an awfully long way to go. Let me skip over to number 5. Yeah. By 2000, every adult American will be literate.
Obviously, you're not going to get every one, but we need to reach for it because that's our current workforce, and we really do have some problems of both mathematical and English literacy in this country.
Governor, do we know with exactitude what percentage of people are functionally illiterate in this country?
We do not know for everybody, but we did a good survey of 21 to 25-year-olds, and as we measured literacy, of course, we do not have it in a way which we can say, well, how good is good enough, but we do have an indication that we're a long ways away from where we ought to be in literacy.
All right, Governor. We lost video of you for a second there, but I understand we've got it back. By the year 2000, goal number 6, every school in America will be free of drugs and violence. Drug use is down. Violence is interesting because that's really a societal change you're talking about, not an educational change.
Yes,
right?
and a lot of the problem of education is not the problem of the institution itself or the teachers. It's a problem of the societal disintegration of the family and other things, and the school is having to pick that up. But we do need to measure how we're doing on violence and on the use of drugs because it's a condition that does affect education.
Governor, this is a rather grim report overall. I got 30 seconds left. But when you look, Jonathan Kozol was here a week and a half ago talking about the tremendous disparities of spending. In New Jersey, you have some communities like Princeton spending 2.5 times per student what Camden can spend. Disparities in Illinois, New York, lots of states. As long as we have local funding of education, can we get there where every child has a good education, or are the tax bases so low in some communities that kids tend to be written off?
We can get there, but we have to correct that problem. We've got to equalize educational opportunity. And you got to do it in two ways. You got to use your present dollars better, and you got to put more dollars on the table. I think we need both better results and more resources.
Governor Romer, thank you for being with us. Grim report, and there'll be a report every year, I know, until the year 2000. Thank you for being with us. And we'll continue why the humble compost heap is getting the attention of scientists when we continue.